Hey, I wanted to make a video about critical race theory because of how absolutely insanely dumb blocking it is. Um, I guess you know how I stand on it. So for everybody who wants to chew me out in the comments section, please just go ahead and do that. I don't give a fuck because I have spent my entire fucking life studying this shit. And here is basically the breakdown of why I feel that critical race theory is important in schools. Um, God, there's just so much to fucking cover, and I've already shot this video once, but it wasn't good. So when I was younger, my mom was super racist. She asked me and my sister to spy on the family of my sister's Jewish friend from school. And basically told us to go, go into the garage when they weren't looking. Go look at any signatures on any paintworks, any works of art that they owned, to walk into rooms that we weren't supposed to be in and look around and see how much gold stuff there was. And my mom's opinion of my sister's Jewish friends wasn't, oh, hey, I have autism spectrum disorder and my sister most likely does too. And anybody willing to be our friends when we're that fucking weird is a godsend. No, let's have these two children basically mooch from the Jewish family because they always have enough money and they more or less owed us for being friends with them because nobody else would want to. And I was being taught this at 6. My sister was being taught this at 8. She's 2 years older than me. And my mom was poor. She grew up poor. My dad grew up moderately wealthy. My grandpa was, very savvy with money and leveraged the shit out of white privilege. But none of that lasted. And my mom kept paying attention to things that would make her seem like she was a Kim Kardashian, but without actually having to afford it. She would shop sales. She would shop, all sorts of deals and coupons and outlet bargain bullshit. And she was always shopping, always garage sale shopping. I mean, when I was really young, I started learning about, African cultures simply from the incredibly whitewashed encyclopedias that she would get. She wanted gold leaf encyclopedia sets to show off because that was, at the time in the 80s, one of the last bastions of, I guess, luxury representation was having like a complete set of really nice encyclopedias. I mean, if you were alive then, you remember the commercials where they're like, get this new set of leather-bound, delicious, blah 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 blah, with more entries than ever before, and you get a volume for every letter. Well, she bought 3 of them because she wasn't exactly light touch when it came to trying to storm her way into the upper class, and so she put them up for like a couple of months and then was like, I don't like how these look on our shelves, so she put them in the basement. And that is where I sat for hours at a time because I had no friends because I was autistic. And I would just read the encyclopedia, like everything. And I wasn't even in 3rd grade yet. And I'd already finished 2 full sets. And my parents got divorced when I was 9, and that lasted until I was 11. And during the divorce, my dad caught my mom cheating on him. Like cheating, like they were already split up. I don't fucking know. But she was sleeping with my stepdad. And once they did get divorced at 11, we moved to Florida. And she subsequently got immediately married to him because she had to just protect that chastity, just make sure that, her kids didn't view her as an unchaste woman. And I'm like, thinking about it now, and I'm like, I mean, you've had sex with somebody else. I know that. Like, I don't care. I don't care if you want to sleep with somebody else, but she made this mockery of Christianity, this mockery of the Christian tenets to serve herself. And she sent my sister and I to Jesus camp because one of the things that she had learned was that social engineering your way into someone's life and then taking from them, like going up to an old woman and becoming nicer to her than her kids were, and using that to be able to have her sell you her house just before she dies, kind of social engineering, was her way that she saw that she was empowered through colonizer white supremacy to, I mean, to basically be entitled to steamroll other people at any cost in order to enrich herself. And I was raised to do that. But the only reason I even sunk my teeth into any of it was because I was told that I would save the world, that I would heal humanity by breaching their trust with my innocence, penetrating their organization, their social habits, and then pulling with all my might to get them to come to our church or donate to whatever cause we had. We went to Jesus Camp, the Jesus Camp. And there's a documentary about it, if you have not seen it, that basically shows what poor Nazarenes were willing to do to their fucking kids in the 80s and 90s in order to make them seem like they were better Christians. And they fucked us. I mean, they fucked us up fucking 6 ways from fucking Sunday, man. I had PTSD by the time I was 7. It was the first time that I wanted to kill myself. Like, how are you going to do that to a fucking kid? And I believed in Jesus. I believed in Jesus. And I have a video, explaining where that fucking went. But we didn't know any black people at all. My parents didn't have any black friends in Kansas. There were plenty there because, and I know this, I loved Gates Barbecue, and it was the only place that I actually got to interact with black people without my mom being like, no, don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. You don't tell them anything about yourself. She was possessed with the idea that if you got to know black people, they would take advantage of you. And yet, on the other hand, she was telling us to basically stop short of swiping from our Jewish friends. So, turns out that my stepdad was a good old boy from Oklahoma. And he worked as a teacher at a place called Hillsborough High School. He worked there until 2000, at which point he got promoted to be an assistant principal because he had the tenure and because he'd had just a good track record. But before that happened, that was about, it was 2000. I'm talking about 1993 was about the time that we moved in with him. 94. And I lived in a slightly better apartment complex than the one next door. And there was a wall between us to keep people from coming over and mugging people in our apartment complex, because despite the fact that most of the people in our apartment complex had like barely more, the disparities between the two apartment complexes caused the people in the poor complex to understand that the people in the other complex had far more money, even though it was like, I mean, it was nothing. It was not that much more. Like, it's like crabs in a bucket, And so the visual that they had, because we had better roads, better manicured bushes and stuff, but newer paint, things like that, they understood it to mean that the people in our complex were just way wealthier. So they would come over every once in a while and smash a window, break into somebody's house or like apartment. And, it's not like they weren't doing that over the other place. But the thing was that like the other apartment complex had, bars on the windows at every apartment and, triple lock doors with, 3 deadbolts, different keys for each one. And so there were, things that made it less aesthetically pleasing, but also like gave it a sort of a rough edged sensation compared to what we had. So the disparity there just caused there to be strife. And it didn't matter to me. Like, I mean, when I look back on it, I think about all the times that I hung out with kids on both sides of the wall. Like we all went to the same school if we were in the same grade. We went to Orange Grove Elementary, and then we went to I think John Webb Middle School, and now they're both magnet schools. And that was the thing, was I saw, because I went to Orange Grove, which was right in the middle of one of the poorest communities in Florida, and Webb, which at the time was right in the middle of the projects. And I saw how the black kids who went home were treated completely fucking differently than me or the Hispanics in our school. I mean, the African kids got the shit kicked out of them, and nobody could say shit because their parents would be like, "I'm African. That's what we do. Get the fuck out of here." And the white kids would, they were already talking about college in 6th and 7th grade, but there were things that the black kids had to do in order to be able to ever, be brought into that conversation. And it was like, how? Okay, let's start peeling this apart. Basically, the way it works is that in Florida, segregation still exists. Bad. You have whole enormous neighborhoods that are just black, and you have whole enormous neighborhoods that are just rich white people. And one of them is Winter Garden, where my mom lives. And she chose that place with my stepdad because it has the least incidence of black crime. Because the black people are driven out of the city by the cops. The cops make sure black people do not cross one major thoroughfare into Winter Garden. And they're proud of this. They're proud that the black people 3 blocks away packed 18 people to a fucking house, stay the fuck away from where my mom's white friends live, and go to church and go to school. And I mean, when I was 19, I went back and visited my mom. I only lived with her in Florida for 2 years. I couldn't fucking stand it to be there longer than that. Because of the way the law broke down, I was able to choose which parent I lived with at 13, and I fucking chose my dad. And I saw how magnet schools were the cheater method that Republicans in Florida used to get around segregating the fucking people. So they would bus these fucking kids, and we traveled sometimes 2 hours if it rained by bus to get to school, because they wanted to make sure that the demographics that I was coming from, where there were more white kids, filled in these areas that were just, it was all black people for as far as you could see. There were Hispanics in there, but like the Hispanics had their own neighborhoods. And there's this racial tension down there that will fucking cut you by looking at you. And it's garbage, because, I mean, racism is the dumbest fucking thing in the entire fucking world. It literally makes no sense. And it's based on what? Some minor genetic expression on a thing that everybody fucking shares. Do you have skin? Cool. It looks completely different fucking once it is ripped off of you and laid next to everybody else on Earth. No 2 moles are the same. No freckles are the same. Nothing between any 2 people is ever the same. And yet, because you have a couple of fucking Dalmatians and a couple of fucking Huskies looking at each other and being like, "Oh, that's not a dog like me. I better fucking kill it." Like, dude, you're both dogs. Like, you can mate. You eat the same stuff. Your genetic expressions are not that different. Okay. I don't believe in race. I'm not saying I don't see color. I know that people have identities wrapped up in that shit, but I had somebody ask me recently if I'm proud of being white. The fuck would I be proud of being white for? What has being white ever earned me? Did it do any work for me? Did my skin get off my fucking body and go in for 9 hours and wash dishes for me? No. I've got scars all over my fucking body from working side by side with fucking everybody that wanted to have me. I worked with fucking everyone I possibly could. I've been friends with people who would accept me from around the world. And I will tell you that everybody has racists in their country. The United States has white people, and they've created black racists because they've been so fucking toxic to so many black people for so fucking long. There are now black people who just don't want anything to do with white people, and they deserve that opinion. They fucking deserve it. White people who are like, oh yeah, blah, 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 you do not deserve that fucking opinion. You did not earn that fucking opinion with oppression. And if you think you are oppressed, please, please, please do what I did. Go live in the ghetto. Go down there and do what the nickel and dimed lady did. Cut yourself off from your Bezos fortunes. Cut yourself off from whatever it is that you fucking think that you are entitled to because of how much wealth you are, and go live on $400 a month. In the Tampa projects. Go down. Go down and see what it's like for those people. And then tell me that that place is a place that is meant to lift people up. Because the same fucking families, there's so many of the same families who live in the exact same project building as 20 years ago when I lived and went to school down there. And isn't a place like that, where the government subsidizes that kind of housing, isn't the entire core of the reason Republicans pitch even supporting that it is a stepping stone with various social organizations within the government that are supposed to help lift these people up? Why are they fucking still there? If Rick DeSantis was any good at his job, if he was any good at his job, he would have figured out how to uplift the people in the projects, because the beating heart of any economy is the middle class, not the poor, not the rich. Because the poor people have no money. They can't buy anything. They can't, the GDP just doesn't get the wash cycle it needs. And rich people like Bezos is going to put offshore money on the moon. That is the reason you have to tax the rich and not let them get away with it, because they will literally move away and just take their wealth with them. They don't have to spend it. Nothing costs enough money for them to spend all the money they've accumulated. And I tell rich people who bitch about paying taxes and how they've earned that money, fine. Lincoln wrote a letter that told all his racist generals that even if they were still racist and they didn't like black people, that it was better to free the slaves and have them fight on their side than let the dumbass Southerners, who were going to fuck everybody because they did not understand economics, they did not understand fucking world trade, they did not understand diplomacy. It would be better to free the slaves and have them fight on their side, even if they didn't like them, than it was to let them go. And I would say that if you still think that black people are bad or criminal or deserve to be abused by the cops or are likely to be these stereotypes, if you think that black people deserve the infrastructure that repetitively keeps them down, then fucking take a chance and get rid of it and make it better. Build them up and see if they prove you right. Because that's ultimately the test of an ally, isn't it? To be toxic with someone long enough, to uplift them long enough that they get rid of and shed their old skin. So if you are right that you think that people should not be learning critical race theory because it's poison, then what the fuck are you doing to lift these people up to help prove that your way is better? The stage is yours. The mic is yours. No one is stopping you from offering up better suggestions and then implementing them. But the thing is, talk is fucking cheap. It's super fucking cheap. If I hadn't been the guy in that fucking ghetto, getting the shit kicked out of him for what the other white kids did, if I hadn't been jumped, if I hadn't been beat up at the bus stop because I was the white kid, I wouldn't have been paying attention because I'm autistic. I would have been focused on my toys. I would have been focused on my schoolwork. I would have focused on just probably not even being verbal. But I didn't have that option. I couldn't take that because my mom insisted that I had to be able to be a perfect little angel. My dad was largely not racist. Every once in a while he'd slip and he'd say something. But my stepdad, when one of his students had acid poured on her face at the bus stop because a girlfriend of a boy was jealous that they had talked. She got her friends together and they beat this girl down and they poured acid on her face, like just all over. And then they took a razor blade and they cut her all the way around from eyelid to eyelid. And there was a school fundraiser to help raise money for this girl because of how horrible the attack was. And, justice was served, but this girl had very, very severe chemical burns. And my stepdad's reaction when my sister brought up that she wanted to donate to the fundraiser was a cheeky remark at the dinner table that we weren't going to waste our money on it because she was a black girl and cosmetic surgery wouldn't make her look any better. And my mom was like, Keith, don't say stuff like that. You're so naughty. I fucking hate racists because I hate stupidity. And racism isn't personal. I ran a social engineering experiment when I worked at Starbucks in Russian Hill, San Francisco, one of the richest neighborhoods in San Francisco and one of the richest neighborhoods in the United States. I mean, kids' parents would just buy them an apartment there so they could go to Hastings University without scholarship, just on mommy and daddy's money. And these guys and these girls would come in with wealth and abundance from being tech entrepreneurs or having their own company or being an SVP of blah, blah, blah. It didn't matter. And they would fight me over fucking 10-cent differences in their lattes because they got soy or some shit or like whatever. They'd be like, I want a tall single shot espresso in a venti cup with condiment soy filled to the top. And it would be like, listen, if you order a double shot of espresso and put it in a venti cup and ask for condiment soy to the top, it is a soy venti latte. And that is going to cost you $2 more. And they would be like, but that's not what I ordered. And I'd be like, I cannot fight you about this because you were stupid. And they'd be like, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to call corporate and I'm going to have you fired. Do you understand me? And I'd be like, okay, I'll just get my manager. And my manager would be like, you got it. Double shot of espresso in a venti cup with condiment soy to the top. Yeah, there you go. Have a great day. And I'd be like, that woman was bragging about making a $12 million deal on the phone before she got up to the register. So you literally just gave a millionaire, somebody who got $12 million after taxes for themselves, $2 off their cup of coffee. And now, because I got put in my place, I have to let that bitch do that every fucking time she's in here. We had a guy who hated Starbucks because of bullshit like that. And he was a cool dude. And he would give out free drinks to fucking anybody because he just didn't give a shit. He'd been there working there long enough. And he was studying at the Art Institute. And he was a Luke Cage looking motherfucker. Like, handsome, tall, total fucking package, smart, glasses, had this like dope, sexy looking fucking facial hair. He was stacked as fuck, just enormous, and just like a tall, like I'm 6 feet tall. He was like 6'6", and just like Luke Cage, like all the way. And he was a comic book drawer. That's what he was going to school for. Was he wanted to draw comic books, and he was way into esports. And he was engaged, like, been working at Starbucks for a long time, been saving up money, was looking to get a house. And the people would come in and they could not recognize who he was unless you asked them if they were looking for the black guy. And I began noticing this because people loved talking to him and chatting with him and having him validate them because it would give him the chance to just fuck off as long as they were talking to him because he was the fucking supervisor. And he could literally be like, hey, I'm talking to a customer. You need to go do whatever it is I was supposed to do. And he would just chill out talking to them and have a good time and make drinks. So he was still working. Like, he was insanely fast. But he'd just be like, yeah, you go clean the mess in the back. I'm going to make drinks for you so I can talk to these customers. And they didn't know his name. After 3 years of coming in and getting free coffee from him, they didn't fucking know his name. They didn't know his last name. And so when I noticed that there was this like gap of knowledge that these white rich customers had towards a barista that they saw literally every fucking day, I decided to set up an experiment. And what I wound up doing was every time a customer would come in and ask for the manager, assuming that they weren't like, I need to speak to a manager. Oh, that's different. I would be like, oh, you're looking for the supervisor? We've got 4. And they'd be like, oh, I think you know the one I'm talking about. I'm like, well, there are 4, and you're asking for the one who's working today. Is it the tall guy? And they'd be like, oh, I don't know. And, you know, I could tell that they were in a good spirit, that they were interested in coming in and potentially, like, you know, gabbing. Because I would be like, is it an emergency? And they'd be like, no, I just wanted to say hi. Okay, that's my cue. All right, so does he have glasses? And I would literally play Guess Who. Does he have glasses? Is he tall? Does he have facial hair? Does he have a shaved head? Is he stacked? Is he taller than me? Like, more muscular than me? Does he like to draw comic books? Does he like to watch esports? Does he have a fiance? I don't know. And then I would fucking drop it. Do you mean the black guy? Yes, that one. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. I'd be like, his name is Justin. And they would never fucking forget again. Every fucking person who came in asking for Justin, who couldn't fucking remember his name, couldn't remember a fucking detail about him once. Not one fucking time, and running that experiment almost 50 times. And the sense of shame that I could see that they had, I had to mask my reaction to it because it was Starbucks and they would fire me if they found out I was doing a social engineering experiment on the fucking customers, especially super wealthy ones. And that's the thing, is racism isn't personal. That's what it taught me. You see Daryl Davis going up, and he is just right there with these guys in the KKK. And then he's having more fun with them than the KKK people are. That is how you beat racism. Get to fucking know people, and then go have a fucking great-ass time. Because what you find as you get to know people is that they're the same everywhere. And this is why we have racism everywhere. The color issue in India, the color issue in the Dominican Republic towards the Haitians, people in Latin America. I mean, there's shit going off in Latin America that it like, they were like, dude, I thought we had this settled already and now it's back? What the fuck? Things in Africa where it's like, you can't be serious about this. You can't. I thought the United States had a lock on stupidity. We do not. It is not patented here. It is not produced and then sold to the rest of the world. However, we've tried, because we have definitely fucked with enough other people's governments to have had that fucking wind up being the case. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, the United States, we feel so much for everybody else around the world, and hashtag blessed. Like, no. Being an ally cost me fucking tons of blood, tons of fucking bruises, tons of fucking hurt feelings, because I would literally be sitting there at my buddy's house with 13 black people who lived in the same fucking house, because Kentucky is still so fucking racist that they have gentrified areas where the rich white kids get to go, and then the cops keep the black people out of that. And just like Florida, all the better jobs, all the better fucking shopping, all the better services are all located in the white neighborhoods. And I would hang out with my buddy LB, who I worked with at Hooters at Newport on the Levee, and I lived in the Cincinnati ghetto next to University of Cincinnati, just up the hill from over the Rhine. And what I saw when I was living with guys that I'd gone to high school with in that ghetto with a bunch of their frat brothers was that you had these frat guys who would joke about how they started the Cincinnati riots because they were drunk one night and flipped a fucking car and set it on fire to pay back a guy who was looking at one of their girlfriends from down the street or some shit. And they were like, oh shit, we fucked this guy's car up. And then everybody, all the cops blamed all the black people, and we just ran inside, like, so that they wouldn't catch us. And they just blamed all the black people for it. And that's how the Cincinnati riots got started. Isn't that hilarious? Let's drink some more. And I was like, dude, people fucking died. You flipped a guy's car over and lit it on fire, and potentially, like, you acknowledge that you started the Cincinnati riots. This was the, I was on the intramural rugby team. That's who claimed that. Fucking fantastic piece of American historical information. And I would cross into Kentucky and go get wasted with my buddy LB, and I would be sitting in a room full of 13 black people living in the same fucking house, making $200, $300, $400 a week, smoking weed, passing it around, huge blunts, spliffs, whatever, and I'd just be sitting there because I didn't smoke at the time, and I would always go buy like enough double deuces to share, which is a lot because I drank an insane amount. Or I'd have like a fifth of vodka with me, and I would let people drink out of it. You can't fucking pour cups. You don't show up with fucking cups in that situation and be like, oh, here, let me get you. Oh yeah, everybody got one. Okay, cheers. Like, no, you just give them as much as they want, and they fucking hit it. And you don't cry about them drinking more. You just tell them to fucking slow down because they're gonna fucking throw up. But like, LB, he had friends, and he knew that me being there was special. Not because I was special, but because we worked with white guys whose grandmas gave them, $1,000 to spend at Atlantic City for the weekends. Or they lived at their parents' house and, lived rent-free. And their parents were, upper class people, and they were just slumming it at Hooters so they could get a hookup with cocaine and fucking girls. And it was like, we're working, 5-6 days a week, sometimes working doubles just to make ends meet, because I wasn't living off of my parents' dime at the time, and I was living in this, $350 a month, 1 bedroom in this house, and LB's family, like, they didn't know if they had jobs. Sometimes people would just lose jobs because they were dealing with all sorts of things: depression, anxiety, stress. They had, sometimes somebody get a toothache and they'd just be like, I can't go into work because I have an ice pack on my face all day, but I don't have any insurance because I work at Walmart, because at that time Walmart didn't fucking insure people yet, and they just miss work one day and they wouldn't have a job anymore, and so they'd be back living on the couch again, having to, go drop off applications again at a lot of the same stores. And so I just saw how the black people in Kentucky were hitting all these same venues, and you just have like a whole family that would have worked at one Popeyes or like one McDonald's. They'd all have done a tour there at some point. So they'd all be able to tell each other whether or not the managers were any good. But like, they'd also have like, beads on any new jobs coming up. They'd be like, oh yeah, like somebody's getting ready to quit because XYZ, like, be in here like that morning, I'll get you the fucking hookup, and they'd get them a job. And I'd tell them about job services, because when I left my mom's, my dad was like, hey, you lived in a really terrible fucking situation down with your mom. I want to put you in the best fucking place I can. And that was Oakwood fucking High School. The same place as Brock Turner from Stanford. The same place that Emilio Estevez Martin Sheen, and Charlie Sheen went. That whole family is from Oakwood. And I have seen Martin Sheen at a Starbucks on Brown Street in Dayton. And those kids didn't fucking know anything about race. They didn't know anything about how bad it was. They just thought black people were lazy and stupid and just absolute criminals. And they were some of the richest people's kids. You know, we're talking about a kid named Chip who got a gold 911 for his 16th birthday and then made his dad return it so that he could get a party bus to drive to school, a Suburban. And he ran a kid over with it at a party one time and made the kid apologize to him for having passed out behind his truck when he hit him, almost killed him. Kid showed up with fucking bloodshot eyes like he was a fucking demon in school. And, you know, nothing happened to Chip. Nothing. There was a kid whose dad owned a construction company who jumped his fucking Volvo into a fucking orange orchard or an apple orchard, like fucking rolled it like 6 times because he was drinking and driving. And because it was a Volvo, he survived, thank God, I guess. But his parents were like, we're gonna have it totaled out, and then we're gonna buy another family car eventually. But for now, you're not allowed to get your own car. You're gonna have to drive our leftover car, a BMW 8 Series. Like, you punish your kid by making him drive a BMW 8 Series because he was drinking and driving in his vault. Fuck you. Fuck you guys. Fuck that shit. Are you fucking kidding me? And they would bully the fucking Indian kids. They bullied the fucking black kids. They bullied the Hispanic kids at school. There was a girl they bullied for not having boobs. And she had, for her 16th birthday, she had breast implants. And it was just tasteful. Just tasteful. But she was 16. And she was probably going to grow into that shit anyway. And besides, who fucking gives a shit? Oh, well, these kids definitely did. Because then they called her a fucking slut. They slut-shamed her for getting cosmetic surgery to respond to how they body-shamed her small breasts. And so I went from seeing firsthand what the ghetto was like to seeing exactly what white privilege looked like, to seeing exactly what racist Kentucky looked like in the working class, to seeing exactly what racism did to kids in college. Because I went to college, like, I had a toxic relationship with my dad, and because I was autistic and he didn't approve of that, he would break me down right before my exams and I would just drop out of school. I did that 3 times before I went to school in secret for 2 years without telling him so that I didn't have an autistic meltdown and then drop out of school because of it. I didn't know what was happening to me at the time. And so I mean, by that time, I was just like, fuck it. Anybody who wants to be friends with me can be friends with me. I don't give a fuck. The only thing I do not accept is people being cruel to each other. I mean, that's it. Like, and I'm mean. I'm a mean motherfucker. I will be fucking mean to some fucking racist. I will fucking eat them. And, you know, I'm not going to eat some people. But I just always think it's funny to use that as leverage because when their ancestors, that they're like, let's return to the good old days, were enslaving black people, mine were still enslaving them because I'm Norwegian. The Vikings, the Scandinavians, didn't enslave black people because they didn't want to travel that far. That's a long fucking way down to go pick up some slaves. And to bring them all the way back up, you're fighting everybody along the way to keep that. No, to keep that ship intact, no, they were like, no, let's go to Britain and enslave some of those people, bring them back over here. Let's go down to France maybe, or let's go down to, you know, the Alps. Like when they're talking about, you know, where their Airbnbs were going to be set up before they started doing the hack and slash, you know, it was always other white people's places. And so whenever I come across racists who are like, yeah, the good old days, and I'm like, you know, if you re-enslave people, that means I get to eat you, right? And they're like, Check out this motherfucker. And I'm like, let's have a talk about how important racism is to you, because if rules like that go out the window, I'm gonna be tucking it in. And they're like, tell me more about critical race theory. I feel like you might know a lot about that. And I'm like, yeah, let's get down to fucking business. Because really what critical race theory is just fucking paying attention to how shitty the fucking past was and how much cleaning up you have to do from poor decisions other people made. Really, that's what it's about. I mean, I have told racist jokes to a room full of black people because they asked me to. Because we worked in kitchens together and everybody knew fucking jokes. And they were like, Spencer is the fucking funniest fucking guy. He knows so many fucking jokes. And I was like, well, those are all my clean jokes. I'm done. And they'd be like, no, man, like tell all of them. I'd be like, if you are a white man and a room full of black people tell you to say the N-word, don't fucking do it. Don't fucking do it. Do not fucking do it. But the thing was, I mean, LB told me that I could say the word. He told me explicitly that I could say the word, and I didn't do it. I was like, no. I don't need to. I don't need to add it to my vocabulary. And it always feels like a 4-letter word, which is fucking hilarious, especially with me, because fucking shit is fucking crazy up in here. But like, I've been told 3 times at least that to say the word steals the power of its negativity, and I just don't believe that. I don't believe that I should be going around being like, and this and that and this and that. Like, man, I got too many other good cuss words. I don't need that one. I'm good. And he explained something to me. What I'm about to say, I'm trying to preface this because when he said that I needed to understand what a real nigga was, it's a guy who's been fucking crushed. Somebody who has been fucking crushed, just fucking broken down by the system, fucking pressed down until they live in a house with 13 fucking people. And they can't see a way out because everybody's got their GEDs. Everybody's on fucking disability. Everybody's on something. And no money's coming in. No job opportunities are coming in. Nobody's talking to them about Fulbright scholarships or some shit like that. Nobody's picking these people up. And this is just going to be their life because they have to keep their heads down or else the cops will fucking shoot them. If they go out, if they've got a nice car, the cops think they stole it. If they're going to work, the cops think they're going to rob someplace. If they go out from the neighborhood that they're from and they're talking fresh, they're talking to their girlfriends and they got nice things, the cops profile them and then beat them down for it, make an example of them. And that social engineering to push that emotion out is the same thing we're seeing right now with the Russian attacks. These guys are making us all miserable so we fight each other, and that's exactly what the cops do. Is they fucking come down on these guys and fucking beat them down. So what he told me was that if you're real, you get beat down and you still try anyway. And you still find a way to succeed anyway. And you pick the people up around you. LB worked fucking 60 hours a week to pay his mom's rent because he couldn't guarantee that she could stay employed. So he was the one who paid the rent. And then he just let her buy the food. And that's how he explained it to me. It was somebody who would sacrifice of themselves when they were already enslaved to a system that treated them like shit. It was somebody who, at the end of the day, recognized that by lifting up other people, you win. You win if you, in your broken situation, still give of yourself. And I have never heard of anything more Christian than that. in all the mouths of all the white people I've ever fucking met. Not fucking a thing. That close to being that righteous. And that is what that is. That's why you can't be it. That's why you don't get to say the word. That's why I don't get to say the word, because I'm not that, even though I am. Because I got tortured by my mom for being autistic. I got fucking waterboarded. I had her fucking pulling my fucking toenails off to help me fix a bump that I had, or causing me to have emotional breakdowns because she would overwhelm me and overstimulate me. She used to tickle me so hard that I would stop breathing and I would pass out. And the reason she would fucking do that was because it was just so much fun seeing me so happy and I'm being tickled. Like I had an automatic reaction to something, and I would try to get away from her, and so she would pin me to the floor and put her knees on my fucking chest at 12 and pin me to the floor and keep tickling me until I couldn't fucking breathe. And I'd be crying and choking. And she'd just be like, "You're having so much fun." And I had her do to me, and then subsequently had my dad invalidate me and do to me all the things that caused me to have borderline. And that isn't how I know how bad it is for black people in the United States. Because when you are invalidated, when you are tortured, when you are neglected, when the system of infrastructure is broken for you, and when you have to be somebody who sacrifices of themselves when you're already broken in order to lift other people up so that you have any value about yourself, this is America. So I try to be an ally, and I'm not great at it. I try to lift other people up, and they don't get it. They don't. I'm on Twitter now, and I'm looking at people, and they're like, "Why the fuck are you in my fucking face?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to help." And they're like, "No, you're trying to troll." And I'm like, "No, I promise. I actually can't lie about this very well. I have autism, and I'm just directly being as real with you as possible because LB and you know, Darnell and all the other kids that I knew, and that's the thing, is they were just kids. You know, part of them just never grew up because there was this cognitive dissonance about how fucking terrible white people are to them, that they just, somewhere along the way, they lose hope and give up and just let themselves become part of the tropes that everybody makes them out to be, because there's no bridge of moments to get out. And the platitudes of the Democrats vying for power and letting this shit keep on. I mean, there's so many articles about what a fucking piece of shit Hillary Clinton is. And Nancy Pelosi and her pandering. I mean, Jesus. Man, your aides need to be doing a better job, because if nobody around you is being like, "Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Just don't." Critical race theory is incredibly fucking important because it helps you identify the problems that people that are not you are facing if you are a white person. And the reason it's important beyond that is because if other people have better lives, they are not your problem. It's the same thing as paying taxes. If you pay your fucking taxes, other people's problems don't fucking come into your life as much. I mean, we saw that in San Francisco, where they voted down the $50 million or $500 million complex that would have housed all the homeless and just gotten rid of all of them off the streets, and then just set up the infrastructure network to make sure that they didn't come back. And all these motherfuckers were like, "Oh, you're going to tax my CEO's company who gives me free lunch on Thursdays. Ooh, I might lose free lunch on Thursdays because it definitely won't come out of the CEO's salary. Oh, no, vote that shit down. Free lunch on Thursdays is shit, man. That's the fucking shit. No, I can deal with homeless shit on the fucking sidewalks every Thursday. That's fine. But, like, I need that lunch." And it's like, you guys voted this down, and yet you're supposed to be fucking progressives. Go fucking fuck yourselves. Go fucking fuck yourselves. Because if you are not willing to dip your hands in the fire to solve a problem, then why would you ever get a say in how it gets fixed? If you are not willing to be a bricklayer, then why are you demanding that you observe how the bricks get laid? If you are not willing to do it yourself, then what entitlement do you have besides the color of your fucking skin? And now that we know that it's all just genetics, and now we've got all these people proving that your genetics can be one way, and you could be descended from different people and still show up fucking mayonnaise in a snowstorm looking, like the cat's out of the bag on this one. That shit's not important. It's not. Like, overall, what, you're gonna like be more inclined to get a sunburn? Okay, cool. Like, I'm glad your white supremacy made you better at burning. Man, fucking people are stupid. The way we are going to get through this is with a summer war. We've had a Cold War. We've had a Winter War. Everything locked up. Everything tightened up. Henry Kissinger, fuck that monster. Fuck that guy. He fucked some shit up, man. God damn, I just was reading about fucking his shit with Ethiopia. Oh, what a douchebag, man. Fuck. We need a way to figure out how to have fun together. And we need to find a way to make it cheap, affordable, and give it to fucking everybody. We need to find ways to celebrate each other. We need to find ways to celebrate our heritages in a way that makes it so that we identify that we are one. One fucking human race. You know. I don't know. I really appreciate anybody who's watched it this far, but look, critical race theory is just being mindful of the choices that the past made that impact the people of today. That's all it is. And if you're going to tell little kids not to have mindfulness, then you're going to wind up with the kind of kids who are like, I didn't know how to use a condom because my parents told me not to, and now I have 3 kids and I'm 16. And it's like, so you didn't go to Planned Parenthood? No, I didn't want an abortion. Like, it's in the name. It's Planned Parenthood. Oh my God. It's critical race theory. It is critical theory about fucking race. Are you fucking idiots? I'm sorry. Yes, they are. They are fucking idiots. But you all need to fucking help your allies and get some fun fucking going. Because if I'm right, if fun is the way, then outfund these motherfuckers. Outfund them. And they will be like, I want to come to the Oktoberfest with all the blacks and Hispanics. I want to come to the Oktoberfest where all the white guys are drinking all the beer with all the black people. That sounds like a great time. To be like, it is. It is fucking motherfucking incredible. Festivals are one of the best fucking ways for people to mix and just see that they're all fucking... They're just people, man. You know, when I got shot at the Gilroy Garlic Festival in 2019, I just saw people who love food. And it was in Trump country, in California. In California. Trump country, in California. It exists. And nobody was walking around being like, ooh, don't sit by them. Oh, no, nobody gives a shit because you're like, oh my God, look at this fucking garlic steak sandwich. Oh my God, I'm going to fucking slide this thing in my fucking face. And some guy came in and shot at all the little kids, to prove a lesson in Trump country to the liberals in San Francisco, 2 fucking hours north. No one at that festival was from fucking San Francisco, by and large. I'm sure there were some people. I was there. I was from San Francisco. But I'm just saying, like, it's a more rural town. Gilroy is a smaller town. It is further out in the country. And, I mean, my God, the fucking festival was at a place that had a 4-H campground, or like a 4-H building, you know? So it's like there are people there who are country people. And he showed up at a place where there are country people to shoot them, to teach liberals a lesson somewhere else. Yo, you need critical race theory. So your kids don't turn out that dumb. So that your kids do not turn out as dumb as that fucking guy. That is why you need critical race theory.